Hi guys, it's Erin, and this is going to be the first video in my long-promised grad school Q&A. I've been collecting questions that people have been asking me as comments on my videos for a while now, and I felt like I finally had enough to kind of start this series. I actually filmed a video in which I answered all of the questions at once, and it ended up being really long, and I felt like I wasn't as clear and focused as I could be because I was trying to kind of like get through all of the questions. So what I've decided to do instead is I was already planning for this to be a series. And by the way, if you have additional questions that you would like me to answer in future videos, definitely put them in the comments. So what I've decided to do is group the questions by topic and then make a video for each topic. So this video is actually going to just be on one question because I think that I have enough to say that it's worth just taking an entire short video to do that. Look out for future videos on other topics coming soon. So this question is one, like I said, that I thought was worth addressing. It's from Morgan B. She writes, I'm starting a master's program in English in the fall and I'm super nervous. Do you have any advice you would be willing to share on transitioning from undergraduate to graduate school, or anything I can do over the summer to better prepare myself? This is an excellent question, and I'm really glad that you asked this, Morgan, because transitioning from graduate school or from undergrad to graduate school can be really tricky. To start kind of from the end first, I would say there's not really anything in particular that you can do over the summer. It's the end of the summer, but you know, maybe you've found this video next year or something. Just take the summer off. Sometimes professors will send you your syllabus or a reading list pretty early, and in that case you can start to get your books and read them. Sometimes they'll tell you the order that you'll be reading them in. If not, then just pick the ones that look interesting to you. That actually can be helpful. What I've found most helpful is if you read a couple of books in the middle of the semester early, because the middle of the semester you end up getting busy, you have papers due, you just have like a lot of stuff going on, and so if you've already read something from that and you can kind of just like skim through it quickly to refresh your memory, that can be really, really helpful. So I do recommend doing that, but it's not necessary, and sometimes your professors just aren't going to give you the syllabus before the first day of class, in which case, enjoy your summer. Some other things to think about. One of the biggest differences between undergrad and grad school is just the level of expectation, especially in a humanities field where the master's degree is kind of seen still as a step towards a PhD, and this is especially true if you're are heading to a PhD program. There's this expectation that you're professionalizing. It's the same kind of expectation that you would find if you went into a more professional master's, like a psychology degree or something, where the professors really see themselves as preparing you to do this thing professionally. And so the level of expectation, the level of work, the rigor involved, the length of the papers that you're writing, all of that is just gone up. And it's not kind of like the difference between like your sophomore year and your senior year in undergrad. It's like it's just this whole other jump. I don't want to like over quantify it, but it's a big jump. You go from writing 7 to 10 page papers to writing 15 to 20 page papers or 20 to 30 page papers, and the level of originality and nuance and complexity that your professors expect from your work has just really dramatically jumped. So I'm not saying all of that to scare people away from graduate school, but knowing that in advance is really helpful. I didn't, and I really was thrown for a loop when I got to graduate school and kind of realized that I wasn't like mentally prepared to deal with the difference. I knew that the year would be a little bit crazy, but I thought it would just be kind of from like a workload perspective, like, oh, I'll be reading more, but it really wasn't that. I managed the reading just fine. It was that kind of extra jump. So your first year of graduate school is definitely the hardest year of graduate school, at least in my experience. Some other people might have had different experiences, but it's just because it's that adjustment year. It takes you a little bit of time. Don't freak out too much if your grades are a little bit lower than what you've expected, and having that expectation will help you kind of look for ways that you can learn how to be successful instead of having to learn first that it's harder and then be like, okay, well, now what do I do about that? Speaking of, what do you do about that? Here are some tips for some things that you can look out for and think about doing to help you succeed as you kind of navigate this new environment. There are always resources on your campus that will be available to you. They vary depending on the school, but going to, for instance, the writing center, there's usually a writing center on campus, and most of the time that I've seen, they serve graduate students in some capacity. So if you're struggling with the writing aspect, definitely go to the writing center, find out what resources on campus there are to help you. Another big change is the depth of research that you're expected to have conducted for your papers, especially your final papers. The level of research is just much deeper, and if you haven't quite figured that out, some undergraduate professors don't require as much research. This was definitely a place where I needed a lot of work. I liked doing research, but I didn't know like what to look for and how to find it and all of that. And I did kind of end up just sort of figuring it out on my own, but I definitely wasted a lot of time doing that, just kind of listening to what other students were doing and listening to the things that the professors might mention. And really, it took me like too long. It took me too long to figure that out. But a lot of libraries have research librarians who either hold workshops that teach you how to do library research, or you can just email them and be like, please help, and they will. So those are two on-campus resources that you should just find out about. You might not ever need them, but if you know that they're there and you know kind of like who to talk to, if you do find that those problems arise for you, that makes it so much easier. And that's just kind of a general tip. Like, really take some time at the beginning of the first year of your first semester to figure out what resources are available to you on campus, whether it's health services, counseling services, practical stuff, where to eat, all of those things. And then also like, what kinds of services does the library provide? Is there a writing center? Where is it? What do you need to do to go there? Sometimes there's an orientation that will tell you all of that information, but not always. And so if you figure it out at the beginning of the semester when you're still kind of like gung-ho and interested, then in the middle of the semester when you actually need the services, you'll have them already kind of resourced for yourself. That makes it easier, because I know that when I'm really stressed, trying to like go figure something out just feels really hard. So do that in advance. The other really important thing is just to talk to your professors. Have a conversation with them. They, in masters, and again, especially in PhD programs, they're here for you. They're here to teach you how to do the job that they have learned how to do. And so they want to talk to you. Go to their office hours. You don't have to like drop by every week, but especially when you have questions, it doesn't hurt to just go and have a chat with the professor. I've found it very helpful. Because your papers are so long, you really have to start them pretty early, like halfway through the semester. So I've found that if I get to the halfway point in the semester and I don't know what I want to write about, it's really, really helpful at that point to schedule a meeting with a professor and sit down and just be like, I'm not sure what I want to write about in this class. Here are the things that I have found interesting that we've talked about, but I don't know like how to turn that into a paper. And the professors will usually, unless they're jerks, which happens, but you know, most of the time they're not. The professors will kind of like help you figure out what you want to do. I've done that several times and it's always been really, really helpful. And then really just anytime there's like a problem that crops up, go talk to your professor, something that you're concerned about, because a lot of times you're overthinking it and it's not actually a problem, and they can kind of reassure you. The cicadas are very loud today. Something else that kind of helped me feel more comfortable talking to my professors, it always felt incredibly awkward in all of the professor conversations, and I'm an introvert, so I'm already like awkward about conversations, and then it's like a professor, so that feels even more awkward. And then I realized that most of my professors are introverts and are also probably bad at small talk and like feel it awkward. It helps make those meetings with my professors less stressful, because I just like, okay, you're also an introvert, we're just gonna be awkward together, it's fine. They're not sitting there thinking that you're an idiot. They really aren't, I promise. And that kind of leads into the next point, which is about imposter syndrome. For some reason, imposter syndrome rears its ugly head when you show up in grad school. I don't know, maybe some people experience it in undergrad. I didn't. There's something about the extra pressure, the extra like level of work, the expectations that just suddenly make you feel like you don't belong there. You have no idea you're doing. Everybody's gonna think you're an idiot. Like, why are you even here? All of those thoughts are collectively called imposter syndrome, and the fact that it has a name tells you just how ubiquitous it really is. Everybody I've talked to experiences it at some point. It might be every once in a while in class when a classmate says something really brilliant and you're like, I did not even think about that, or this work is so hard, how did they get there? It might be while you're working on a paper and you're just like overwhelmed. It might just be randomly when you're writing a worksheet for the class that you're teaching, because I might have felt that yesterday. The thing that helps me the most to deal with imposter syndrome, because you don't really like avoid it, you just deal with it, is just recognizing that everybody feels it. Your professors feel it, your classmates feel it, and even the people who are saying the really brilliant things that are making you feel like an imposter, they're also feeling like an imposter sometimes. Maybe not that day, but sometimes. That just helps. It's just us feeling inadequate because we get anxious about that kind of thing. We care about our performance in class and our grades because, like, we're doing the thing because we care about it. And so, of course, we're gonna care about how we do. To fight it, remember that everybody feels it. Remember that the school did pick you to be there. You had to apply and get chosen. Talk to a professor if you really are having a concern. And if it really, really gets overwhelming, go talk to the counseling services on campus. I'm pretty sure most, if not all, of college campuses nowadays have some kind of counseling service. And sometimes just talking with someone once or twice who's a professional who can really just like help you see that you are not an imposter can make a really big difference. Grad school can be really stressful and really overwhelming sometimes, and so, you know, just go ask for help if you need it. And then finally, talk to people who are above you in the program. So if you're in a 2-year master's program, talk to people who are in the 2nd year, during your 1st year. If you're in a PhD program, talk to all of the people who are above you. Ask them for tips and advice and kind of just listen to them when they talk about how they're doing things, because that can really help you, and they've already been through your particular program with your particular professors, because everyone's experience is going to be a little bit different just because we're individuals, but then also every school leads to a different experience because there's just certain professors at that school. Every program is organized a little bit differently. So for sure, find the people that you feel comfortable talking to and then just have a conversation with them. Also talk to the people in your own year. I know that last year was so much easier for me because the people in my year, we really connected and we could kind of be like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, and then everybody would be like, yeah, me too. And you're like, okay, well, as long as I'm not alone, I feel okay. That just like, it's so helpful to know that other people are experiencing things, and we could share like, oh, I figured out that you can do this thing, or we would learn from somebody above us, oh, did you know that there's like this place to eat, or oh, don't worry about that, that's really not a big deal. Just like those little kind of insider tips can really, really be helpful. And then finally, don't forget to take time for yourself. Like I said, graduate school can feel kind of all-consuming. Sometimes the work just kind of doesn't end. There's always something else to read or research or whatever. Just pick a time, pick an activity that you're gonna do that's just for you. That could be going for a run or going to the gym every couple of days. It could be taking a long walk on Saturday morning. It could be going to see a movie every week. Whatever it is that just helps you kind of unwind and relax. Ironically, the thing that I do is read, which doesn't make any sense. Everybody was always like, how are you reading so much outside of class? And I'm like, guys, this is what I do to de-stress. But I wasn't reading George Eliot because I was reading George Eliot for class. I was reading, you know, just kind of like books that didn't make me work very hard. Fun mysteries and romance and stuff like that. It was a way that I could kind of just check out and stop thinking about school for a little bit. So think about that. What's your kind of self-care thing that you're gonna do? Just plan and be really deliberate about taking time for yourself. And when your body really needs rest, let it rest. If you don't read the entire novel, you're gonna be okay. But if you have a breakdown, that's not good. So that's kind of my advice for starting graduate school. It is tough, yes, but it also is really awesome. I just am really loving my program, and I hope that you are too. If you have follow-up questions or anything that you want to know more about definitely leave me a note in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and look out for future Q&A videos. I'll probably be doing about one a month at this point until I run out of questions. So keep the questions coming, and the videos will keep coming too. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.